Right now, we're taking you live into Lowell District Court, where a man is being arraigned on charges he murdered a woman and buried her body in a Tyngsboro garage. Let's listen in.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Karen Mahoney on behalf of the Commonwealth.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Ryan Sullivan on behalf of Mr. Sullivan.
Good afternoon, Attorney Sullivan. All right, Mr. Sullivan, court will enter pleas of not guilty on each one of these complaints on your behalf, and Attorney Sullivan's been appointed to represent you on these matters, okay? All right, Attorney, is it Mahoney?
Yes.
Okay, Attorney Mahoney?
Your Honor, the Commonwealth would ask that you hold the defendant pursuant to 265, Section 1 without bail.
Okay,
I do have a statement of facts if Your Honor would.
sure.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth alleges that beginning in February of 2026, Mr. Shawn Sullivan, the defendant before you, told a friend that he had killed someone. He indicated that he had accidentally shot and killed a girl he knew as Jill in February of 2025. The defendant said that the shooting had occurred in his bedroom, and after a day or two, he moved Jill's body into the garage of his home. There, he dug a hole in the floor of the garage and put the victim's body in the hole and sealed it up. The defendant's friend reported this information that he had heard from Mr. Sullivan to Nashua Police. Nashua Police then located information that Tewksbury Police were investigating the report of a missing person named Jill Kloppenburg, who had been reported missing since around the time of January of 2025 and last seen in Lowell around that time. Tewksbury detectives interviewed the friend who reported that Shawn Sullivan, who lives in Tyngsboro, told him that he took a life, that he accidentally killed someone and he accidentally shot somebody, and that it was a female named Jill. The defendant said that he was with Jill and holding a firearm while falling asleep. At some point, he made a jerking motion which caused him to pull the trigger, discharging the firearm and shooting Jill in the chest. He stated that Jill soon died, and if there was a chance for her survival, he would have called for help. Instead, the defendant kept Jill's body in his room for a couple of days. He then brought Jill's body to the garage, where he dug a hole in the concrete, placed her body in the hole, and then filled the hole, covering the garage floor with concrete and epoxy. On March 11th of 2026, police spoke to the defendant, who stated that he did know Jill Kloppenburg, and the last time he saw her was in January of 2025. At that time, Jill had visited him at his home. Later that evening, the defendant stated he drove Jill home to her apartment in Lowell, and that was the last time he saw her. The defendant indicated that he knew Jill had been reported missing because of several of her friends had come to his house looking for her and provided him with a pamphlet. On March 13th of 2026, Tyngsboro, Tewksbury, and Massachusetts State Police executed a search warrant in the garage of the defendant's home. After clearing the garage floor, police observed a large patched area, approximately 3 foot by 5 foot. The area was scanned with ground-penetrating radar and revealed an anomaly in that area. That area of the ground was then excavated. During the excavation, the defendant had a second conversation with the police. At that time, he admitted to removing one of his firearms from his safe and showing it to Jill when he was over his home. While holding the firearm, he then twitched, discharging the firearm and shooting Jill in the chest. Jill spoke briefly and then collapsed. He checked for a pulse and determined that she was dead. When the area of the ground was excavated, a large wrapped object was located and was transported to the office of the chief medical examiner, where that object was x-rayed. The contents of the plastic bags were x-rayed and confirmed that it did contain a human body. The medical examiner has since positively identified the body through dental records as Jill Kloppenburg. Preliminary examination appears that she suffered a through-and-through wound with an apparent entry wound to her chest and an exit wound to her back. That would essentially be the facts.
All right. What have you heard, Attorney Sullivan?
So I understand that the situation that we're dealing with, the court has all the authority to hold without bail. I would point that there are several mitigating factors here, although initially, when speaking with the police, my client was less than forthcoming about it. I think that shows what had been going on from January just until a few days ago is he's in an extreme amount of panic. The government has all the authority to charge the highest that they possibly can, but it looks to me like all of the evidence suggests that this was a tragic accident followed by inexcusable panic. And we're here on the murder charge to see about whether he should be held without bail. And I think that it's much more, the evidence points to a case of involuntary manslaughter. I completely understand the concern, the Commonwealth's position regarding the internment charge, but it being a 3-year felony it certainly puts us in a different category. My client has remained in the home with his parents throughout the entirety of these proceedings. He's been going to work and frankly trying to get the weight of this tragic mistake off of his shoulders by talking to his friend who notified law enforcement. This is a person who, when they spoke to him last week, knew I could flee and chose not to. He was cooperative and forthcoming with the police in his interview where he was emotional and provided information that, as AD Mahoney indicated, was borne out by the physical examination conducted by the medical examiner. And so I think, although potentially very high, an amount of cash bail would be appropriate.
All right, thank you, Attorney Sullivan. So he's going to be held without on 1279. And have we discussed the date?
April 17th works for Mahoney, otherwise any day thereafter.
All right, April 17th.
On complaint number 1279, on that matter, you're now being held without bail. If you are aggrieved to the bail requirements of this court, you have the right of bail for the Justice Superior Court. If you get arrested or charged with any other offense during the pendency of this matter, your recognizances could be revoked and you could be held without bail up to a period of 90 days or to the day of trial for good cause. On 1279, that matter is now continued to April 17th for a probable cause hearing. On 1278, that matter is continued to April 17th for...
If the parties agree that it should be joined.
Yeah, why don't I just join them right now? Oral motion, I'll join them.
Oral motion to join. In addition, I just spoke with Attorney Sullivan, and he pointed out on the second count of 1278, it indicates a date of 1/14/2026. I would amend that to 2025, or move to amend that to 2025, and then in addition, on count 1 of 1279, it indicates did assault and beat Jane Doe. Obviously, at the time that that was applied for, we did not have positive identification. I just asked that that be identified.
We'll amend the complaint.
Thank you.
On that matter, the matters are now amended. The cases are now joined, so both matters are now on April 17th for probable cause. And Judge, will he be transported?
I would say,
I'll notify the clerk's office
if that's necessary, okay.
So that will be by Zoom, and you can let me know whether or not it'll be transport, custody.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
In just the last few moments here, the arraignment for Shawn Sullivan, the man accused of killing a woman and burying her body under the garage of his home in Tingsboro, just wrapping up in Lowell District Court. Sullivan is being held without bail and facing charges for murder, assault, and battery and improper disposal of human remains. The remains are believed to be Jill Kloppenburg, who has been missing for more than a year, according to the Middlesex District Attorney. The attorney representing Sullivan says the death of Jill Kloppenburg was a, quote, tragic accident. April 7th is his next court appearance. We'll have more about what we learned in the courtroom. WBZ's Aaron Parsegian will have that on WBZ News beginning at 5.